these low and middle income earning countries are one of the highest people at risk for hypertension. Over 1.4 billion people are actually, the statistics was taken in 2010, over 1.4 billion people, that is about 31.5% or thereabout, are currently hypertensive. Now, we're going to be asking some of these questions on why it is so in these particular countries and why it is lower in high-income earning countries, and of course also what exactly is hypertension. I mean, we've been talking about blood pressure, we've been talking about good or bad blood pressure, we've been talking about how to maintain a blood pressure. So we want to even ask more questions on how you can get treatments, what can you do apart from exercise and eating healthy, the drugs that you should use to maintain your blood pressure and all of that. We already have our guest online, Ekong Victor. He's a medical doctor. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good. Yes. Very good. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. I'm doing great. Thank you.
I am great. I mean, your voice is sharp and bright. That has already made my day. Thank you very much for joining us this morning on the show. All right. Okay, our conversation is on hypertension. Now, let's just jump into it. What is hypertension?
Okay, hypertension is essentially an elevated blood pressure.
All right. Okay, so is there a difference between, because this thing really confuses me. Is there a difference between high blood pressure and hypertension and heart disease?
Well, hypertension is more like the name given to what's going on. An elevated blood pressure.
Okay.
The pressure of the blood in the artery being elevated. So we, as medical practitioners, we term it hypertension.
Oh, all right.
All right, so what is the average blood pressure? So what is a good blood pressure for the average person to have?
Okay, average blood pressure.
Yes.
Before 2015, it was 140/90. So we have two figures. What we call the systolic, as the numerator and the denominator. So anything less than 140/90 was normal. But there has been an update and a review. So currently, the right blood pressure for an average individual should be anything less than 130/80.
Okay. So 120 thereabouts.
Come again?
So 120, at 120 thereabouts.
That's the normal blood pressure,
Yeah.
120/80.
Yeah.
So anybody that's having a blood pressure of 130/80, we start advising and giving them to keep watch of their blood pressure.
Okay. All right. So now let us talk about, environmental causes of hypertension. And what I'm talking about is, the state of the country. On Tea or Coffee this morning, we have, research has shown us that low and middle income earning countries are more at risk of having people with hypertension. How can this be managed in a country like Nigeria? And, what kind of causes in Nigeria, can lead to hypertension?
Okay, thank you very much for your question. Before I go into the causes of hypertension, it's important I talk about the two categories of hypertension.
Okay.
That will help us highlight the causes. So
right.
First and foremost, we have what we call essential or primary hypertension, and then we have what we call secondary hypertension. So secondary hypertension is usually associated to other disease in the body. For example, renal pathology, we have cardiovascular pathology. We want to talk about issues with the liver that can also cause the blood pressures to be elevated. We also have issues with the lungs that can also cause the blood pressures to be elevated. and then substance abuse as well. Why primary or essential hypertension is hypertension with no cause. We really don't know why, but we can associate different reasons to it. Having said this, it's important that we now start highlighting the causes in respect to the variant of hypertension. And these causes, I would like to split them into two different, the communicable, not communicable, what are termed the modifiable and non-modifiable. The modifiable factors are those factors that we can actually amend ourselves. They include use of drugs, smoking, lifestyle, what we eat most times. And then you appreciate the fact that, most times in Nigeria we eat a lot of food that is quite salty. Also, a kind of environment we live in, the stress. Stress is one of the main causes, especially in Lagos State. If you live in Lagos State, in short, studies have shown that at some point, most everybody in Lagos State will be hypertensive.
Whoa!
Wow!
If you have to wake up by 3 a.m. and get home by 12 a.m., you would understand that at some point we would all go through mental stress and then become hypertensive at some point. Yes, and then if we go into the non-modifiable factors, where we talk about family predisposition, for people that have parents or grandparents, first-degree relatives or first-degree, relationship to people that have had that are hypertensive, these people are most likely to. Not that they certainly will become hypertensive, but over time they might be. Some people also have coexisting diseases like diabetes that can increase the risk of them becoming hypertensive over time.
Okay. All right. So, can you tell me if hypertension is hereditary? Because I've been hearing a lot of people say, okay, so if your grandparents have it, there's a high possibility that you might have it, and other causes of hypertension.
Hypertension can be hereditary.
Okay.
There is an hereditary predisposition, family predisposition. So it's not. What it means is, if you're from a family that, for example, your mother and father are hypertensive, what it means is you need to start adopting lifestyle modifications, things to avoid you from becoming hypertensive. It shows that you are more likely to become hypertensive than me that do not have anyone in the family that is hypertensive. But don't forget that I might be living a life that might put me at risk as well of becoming hypertensive even before you.
All right. So, what do we have stages of hypertension in a person? Do you go from one stage to another, and how can you maintain it?
Sorry, can you come again with that?
Do we have stages on hypertension?
Do I have what?
Are there stages in hypertension?
You said stages.
Stages, yes.
Stages, is that what you said?
Yes, that's what I said.
Oh, okay. Well, there are stages. We have the pre-hypertensive, or more like saying borderline hypertension. Usually, those are people that you find them around within the range of 130 to 140 systolic, 80 to 90 diastolic, right? We now have people that have, we have people with term as mild hypertension. Those ones usually go between 140 to 150, or sometimes we permit them 155. And then we have the moderate hypertension, between 150, 160, 165. And then anything above 165, 170, 165, 170 and above, a systolic of 100, we now tend that severe hypertension. That's one of the primary different stages are point of depending on comorbidity.
Okay, all right. So let's talk about the warning signs, the things people can notice in their lifestyle or in their bodies that begins to say, that can tell a person that, all right, I'm beginning to have hypertension. So what are some of the warning signs of hypertension that a person can easily spot?
Oh, well, hypertension most times does not give you a warning sign. Checking your blood pressure is something that we should do routinely. People have been hypertensive for over 1 year, 2 years, because they've not been checking their blood pressure. The next time you meet them, you're meeting them at the neuro department or at the accident emergency department. They've had a stroke.
Wow. Wow.
People would have been hypertensive for a very long time, unknown to them. They keep pushing. Probably they have this subtle headache, and they take paracetamol and is relieved. They have this subtle headache and they feel sick and they go to the hospital. They tell them it's malaria and typhoid and they give them paracetamol and they feel better afterwards. They keep pushing. And the next time you see them, you're finding them in the cardiology department. Probably they've had a heart, a missed or a silent myocardial infarction secondary to hypertension. All of these are things that most times hypertension has a way of taking you silently. Because hypertension is not more of an acute illness, it's a chronic illness. It's something that, your blood pressure is beginning to rise, and the activity of the heart is trying to compensate the pressures that are high. So the heart is trying to work to compensate that. And then over time, you realize that this heart gets tired. It's been working under a very high pressure. It's not used to that pressure. It keeps working and working and working, and one day it tells you, I'm tired of working. Let me shut down.
Right.
Yes. So checking blood pressure, checking sugar levels are things that should be done routinely.
Okay.
You don't wait until 1 year, 6 months, especially for people that have those high risks.
Right.
You have really of your family, your mother, your father, your grandmother, your grandfather, and hypertension. You should check your blood pressure more regularly.
Okay, all right.
The moment you begin to age, for people that are in their 50s, they need to check their blood pressures more regularly.
All right, Dr. Victor.
Who existing disease like diabetes,
Yeah.
they need to check their blood pressures more regularly.
All right, let's talk about treatments very quickly. Is there a treatment? And if there is, what is a treatment procedure for someone going through hypertension?
Sorry, can you come again?
Let's talk about treatment. Is there a treatment for hypertension? And if there is, what are some of the treatment procedures a person going through hypertension can commit to?
I really like this because when we say what is the treatment for hypertension?
Yeah.
It's important to understand that hypertension is an ailment we like to use the term manage. So we don't treat to cure, we treat to manage and keep it within that range. Now, depending, don't forget that's the reason why I had to draw attention to the possible causes. And don't forget that we also have certain types of hypertension, like pregnancy-induced hypertension. Sorry, I forgot to talk about that. That's a kind of hypertension you see, particularly in women that are pregnant, and it comes at a certain age or trimester of pregnancy. Most times, it begins, not most times, it usually will begin in the second trimester of pregnancy. And you just notice that this woman, after pregnancy, give her 6 weeks or more, her blood pressures would usually return back to normal. But within the second trimester, up until birth, to 6 to 10 weeks, usually our blood pressures will usually be elevated. Those people usually do well on antihypertensives during that period. After that period, some of them, their blood pressures will return back to normal, but some, it doesn't return back to normal, and then they become hypertensive. So they have to continue the antihypertensive. We have numerous classes of antihypertensives. and they all play different and major roles as well. Don't forget that most people might have hypertension secondary to some renal pathology. Most times, if they aim to treat the renal pathology, you also help to correct their blood pressures. That's what we're talking about secondary hypertension. Again, for some people might have hypertension secondary to thyroid dysfunction. When you correct the thyroid dysfunction, you're trying to bring back the thyroid function to normal. Some of them, their blood pressures get corrected. But however, for some, it doesn't regularize anymore. You now have to place them on antihypertensive. For some people, they are just a single antihypertensive. Some people might desire 2, 3, up to 4, at times up to 5. Sometimes you might need to increase the doses to the maximum just to try and reduce the blood pressures to the normal, to the range at which it's supposed to be. And what we usually do is what I will use the word titrate the antihypertensive to put the blood pressures within the range you want it to be. So we usually want to prefer a blood pressure of less than 130/80. But I'll be happy as a physician. I'll be happy to see my patient having blood pressures of 120/70, because at the end of the day, we're talking about complications. At the end of the day, the things that hypertension, consistent or poorly controlled blood pressure can lead to. It can lead to stroke. It can lead to a heart failure. It can also lead to what we call neuropathy, issues with nervous system in the body. Not just stroke alone. It might affect sensations to certain areas of the body, and overall, most times it also affects sexual performances in most individuals. So these are complications that we also try to, ensure that the blood pressure is well controlled so that these complications do not come up.
All right.
But however, most times...
Yes, please go on. Please go on. Dr. Victor.
Are you there?
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Okay. Let us wrap up this interview on an admonition. I would like you to advise our viewers watching this morning that may be going through hypertension, and I would like you to advise our viewers on the importance of maintaining a good blood pressure.
Okay. So yes, advice for everyone. Hypertension is not a cause. It's not a cause. It's not something you get when you've done something bad, like people will say, they don't cause them. In this part of the world, we're very spiritual, and we're also very cultural, and also very, what word did I use again? Traditional. A lot of people would prefer to go to their church to pray that the blood pressure should be regularized. I mean, let's not take the fact that as doctors, as physicians, as healthcare workers, we care, God heals. But it is also very important that, we pay attention to our blood pressures. We take those necessary steps to keep our blood pressures within range. I've seen people that are obese. Sorry, I even forgot to talk about obesity is another cause of hypertension. A lot of people are obese, they are big, but they don't see the need to reduce their weight. And there are times at which your numbers of antihypertensive will not help. But once they reduce their weight, you just realize that their blood pressures begin to fall into shape. So it's something that we all need to pay close attention to. I can't count the number of people that have died suddenly from a cardiac arrest. I can't count the number of people that have hypertension and then they are COVID positive, and then because of their blood pressure, it just makes COVID take advantage of them. So hypertension is one ailment that is very easy to manage. So it's one of the diseases in the medical school that I'm pretty much sure that every physician or every medical student would have learned very easily. It's one of the easiest ailments to manage, but most times we make it difficult for ourselves, even us as healthcare practitioners. We also have the habit of not checking our blood pressures, not being consistent with our medications. And, most times you find out that you hear things like, a health worker, a doctor, a nurse suddenly had a stroke, suddenly had a cardiac arrest, or heart failure or heart attack. So hypertension is one of the causes of all of this. It's something that we all need to come together, put our hands together to ensure that it's not caused by your village people trying to chase you. Most times it's associated to all of these risk factors that I've listed and all of the causes that I've listed before now. And we all need to pay close attention. We all need to check this kind of food we eat. For most of us that have white-collar jobs in Lagos State, we have to transverse through Jordan, jump on the street.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Ekong Victor. We've unfortunately run out of time. I have learned so much from this conversation with you on high blood pressure, and I'm actually going to take some of these changes very seriously to my own lifestyle as well. Thank you very, very insightful interview. Have a lovely day.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for joining us. We just had a conversation with Ekong Victor. He's a medical doctor, and he has been talking to us about hypertension, causes, meanings, and of course, treatment. One thing that stood out for me in this conversation is healthy lifestyle.
Yes.
Please, healthy lifestyle is very important, and hypertension cannot be cured, but it can be managed if you are doing the needful. And one thing that he kept on mentioning is there are times whereby when you lose the excess weight, you can actually fall back into a normal blood pressure or something that is easy to manage.
Yeah.
So please try as much as possible to do the needful by watching what you eat, exercise regularly, drink a lot of water, quit the soda, quit the salt, quit the sugar.
Don't quit the salt. Reduce the salt.
Don't eat so much salt.
Yeah.
Reduce it. You can actually quit the salt. You can quit the salt.
You can. Well, yeah, you can.
I get you.
Yeah.
But try to reduce the salt, quit the drinking, quit the smoking. A lot of things to quit just to see how to maintain your health. We care about you and we love you a lot. So please do all of these things that we've talked about.